Hey, what's going on, guys? So, I wanted to talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time now, but I never knew how to articulate it properly. I wanted to talk about why I love blockchain technology, which is the technology that's behind a lot of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum. But first of all, what is blockchain? To keep it simple, blockchain is essentially a list that is shared among everybody participating in whatever service. In the case of cryptocurrencies, it's basically a list of all transactions and how many coins each person has. But really, you could adapt that technology to hold any kind of transactional data, such as chat messages, for example. And since everybody has a copy of that list, it becomes very hard to tamper with. If an individual were to try to change the data in their own copy, everybody else would just reject that change. So for all intents and purposes, it's pretty much immutable, and anybody at any time can audit that data. And that is all fine and dandy, but why is this interesting? What kind of problems does it solve? And I'm glad you asked, invisible audience. Let's get into it. You may or may not realize it, but many of the systems that we have today in society are primarily built on trust. Trust in the system itself and trust in our fellow human beings. Trust is our most valuable resource. When you work for a company, you trust you'll be compensated for your work. When you vote, you trust that your vote will be counted and that the candidate with the most votes will be elected. And the list goes on. But what happens when the trust is broken and no longer there? The systems essentially fail. So this cannot happen. Historically, how trust was brokered between two people who may not inherently trust each other was using third-party middlemen who were incentivized to make sure that transaction went about smoothly. But this means that there is a single point of failure. If the middleman is compromised, then trust vanishes from the system. And you can see in society today that people are very skeptical of the systems that we have currently. There's no longer trust that the middlemen are doing their jobs correctly. People are constantly screaming about fake news. People are suspicious that there's voter fraud. People no longer trust central banks to handle the money supply. Despite whether or not you think any of these have any basis in reality, this is an issue. People no longer have trust in authority. And this is the problem I believe blockchain can eventually solve. The blockchain industry is an industry that aims to use software, not governments, not corporations, not even individuals, to broker trust between people. You would no longer need to trust other humans to be third parties, and this has a few benefits. Number one, humans, generally speaking, are more prone to error. We aren't perfect, whereas software is a lot more deterministic. With some degree of certainty, you can know what will happen before it happens. Number two, humans are prone to corruption. People are greedy and will usually take the route that best benefits them in the short term, even if that means completely destroying the system. Number three, humans are expensive. You need to pay third parties to do what they do, and this price gets passed on to us, the consumers, as a cost. So cutting out middlemen will in fact cut down or greatly reduce this transaction cost. Blockchain would make any type of transactional system better, cheaper, faster. And I believe this will eventually find its way into things like new voting systems and new ways of capturing real estate ownership. And there's probably a bunch of other use cases that haven't even been thought of yet. Obviously, this is a pretty nascent industry, but I believe it will have a profound effect on our world. Something to keep an eye out for. And with that being said, that's my thoughts on crypto. And until next time, peace.